This is Wellness Buds, and I am your host, Stella Wingfield.
And I'm Laura.
This episode is inspired by the following quote. I attribute my success to this. I never gave or took an excuse. Florence Nightingale. I also want to say that this episode is brought to you by the clouds. We were actually supposed to go on a hike today. I drove down to Bend from Portland, Oregon, which is about a 3-hour drive, to conquer this beast of a mountain.
South Sister.
With Laura, but the clouds forced us to be productive today instead.
Rude.
Yeah, I'm not going to be climbing 5,000 feet of elevation to not get a view. I love to work out, but...
Not that much. Read one All Trail review. We'll talk about it then.
So let's just get down to it. Since we're going to be talking about health, wellness, and the like, I thought we would start with what does it mean to be healthy? Health means different things to different people. I believe that health is more than the absence of illness, but more about being in a state of well-being, socially, mentally, physically. Shout out to higher education and the WHO for providing me with an inclusive view of health and other valuable knowledge.
Yeah, I definitely think health is part of everything in life. From sleeping and working to just enjoying your life, everything has to start with some form of health. I think probably the main two forms of health everyone thinks of is going to be mental health and physical health.
Yeah, I think those are the most common things that people think about when they think about health, mental and physical. For me, those two aspects have always been very intertwined. I don't know how one can feel good about life and be in a good mental place. One does not feel good about themselves. Mental health is so important, and if I don't see value in myself or value myself in general, I'm not really sure what would motivate me to care about my physical body and physical health. But it's kind of a strange thing for me to reflect upon because I used to have really low self-esteem and care just about the aesthetic. I didn't really value myself, and my actions were screaming from the rooftop that exact sentiment. I used to be a person who got drunk many days and night and self-medicated my unhappiness with alcohol. But at the same time, I always told myself that my health mattered more than anything. And those two things kind of don't really go together at all. I used to smoke a pack of cigarettes a day for years, yet I still went to the gym and mostly ate well, except for when I was wasted at the end of the night, which kind of means I wasn't always feeding myself in the way that my sober mind wanted me to. My parents used to always say, I just don't get it. You care so much about what you put into your body, yet you smoke. It makes no sense.
That sounds far more like something you would say today.
I know, today, but back then, I literally remember saying, I do not care about what my internal organs look like. I just care about my physical appearance, which saying aloud now sounds so ridiculous. Like in health class too, when we would see those blackened lungs, I'm like, I don't really care if my lungs look like that. As long as I look good on the outside, I just really did not care.
So you needed to be shown the wrinkly faces of the women that did it their whole life to encourage you.
Yeah, that truly would have been helpful, I think, because that would have been more oh shit, I'm gonna get more wrinkles in my face. Yeah, really though, the only reason I started smoking though was to lose weight, which definitely didn't work. I was lost, and it was just because my actions were not synonymous with actually being healthy. A prime example of how contradictory my thoughts and actions were was when I was way younger, talking circa 18, and I'm a 30-year-old woman, by the way, all of you listeners. But back then, I used to pregame on my way to the gym with my friend. We would smoke cigarettes on the way to the gym, would work out drunk, and then go to Arby's after our workout, girl.
Who doesn't love finishing a good lift with some curly fries? I
was like, I earned this.
Work out to maintain.
Yeah, I was just so unhealthy in a lot of ways, but then healthy in other ways. Totally just out of whack. Just I was two different people, not sure which lane I needed to be in, so I was just swerving back and forth between lanes. But I was chronically dissatisfied with my lack of progress in my physical appearance. I would wake up with so many regrets from drunken nights, ultimately, which impacted my mental health. And I just constantly was questioning my entirety. I used to be so concerned with my physical appearance, but I didn't care about getting to the root of my unhappiness, so I drank my problems away, which only added to my dissatisfaction, and so the cycle continued. I didn't speak positively about myself to myself, yet even those closest to me didn't fully know the depths of my self-judging, since I rarely spoke outwardly about my unhappiness. And for some reason, I just didn't understand why I wasn't progressing as a person.
It's the world's biggest mystery.
I know, I'm like, I wish I could talk to that 18-year-old girl, but I can't. So
many can't.
Yeah, fast forward 10 plus years after that time frame, and I rarely drink. I definitely don't smoke cigarettes.
You don't pregame before the gym anymore?
Nope, not no mo. But I definitely still like weed. And, everyone has their vices and things that they like, but I'm definitely more focused on my mental health now more than ever. I value myself and I value my time. So I do things specifically for the betterment of my mental health, such as going to therapy, at least when I had insurance. I like to stay active. I do breath work. I make time for the great outdoors, even if it's just walking my precious little pup around the city. I love to read for the fun of it, and lately I've been focusing on reading a lot of positive books that have been inspiring me and fuel myself with foods that provide nutrients that I need for my body, mind, and soul. I'm also pursuing my interests. I recently received my Bachelor's of Science from Portland State University, which is another step I took toward bettering my health. I study public health with an emphasis in community health promotion and graduated summa cum laude this past March. I finally got my degree in the mail, so I'm feeling very legit about that.
Woo woo!
I'm also planning to start a nutrition certification program very shortly over here, so more to come on that in the coming months. But before the pandemic, I worked as a sterile processor in hospitals all over the country for about 7 years. I was super unsatisfied with that as a long-term career, although it was definitely a great opportunity, and I wouldn't trade those experiences for anything. I got to see and live in so many cool cities across the beautiful U.S. I've hiked in some of the prettiest ranges, all with my now husband by my side. It was super great, but I wanted to explore other avenues and help people in a different way. So now I'm here on a new journey with my bud Laura podcasting.
Yeah, I'm definitely the friend that always asks Stella for advice. So you're welcome. I brought this podcast into being with all of my text messages over the years. I'm definitely the queen of needing guidance in health, at least in the working out of physical health. I am not a solo gal. I work in entertainment, and I just was trying to find workouts that work for me and a way to eat healthier, because the industry of entertainment doesn't really talk about that, support that, promote that, any of the above.
It's not a part of life, actually.
We close our buildings and the only thing open is Taco Bell, so your options are great if you don't cook.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, finding a friend like Stella where I could actually talk about it and kind of have someone to keep me accountable. Not that Stella was on my butt, but when you say you want to eat better and then you mention you still didn't make that recipe, it's real uncomfortable. So you just make the recipe and actually eat better.
Because I'm that friend that's going to follow up and be like, so how'd it turn out?
Yeah, she is. But it did really help progress my wellness journey. With that, I think my healthier mental state came along afterwards. I started focusing on my physical, but I don't know. Stella's probably a better way of explaining how she got to this healthier mental place so many years down the road, all the way from smoking cigarettes on the way to Arby's to being the one that gets the text messages of how do I better my health?
Yeah, I mean,
Quite
it's
the turnaround.
Definitely it's a process, like no one is going to get there overnight. I definitely didn't get there overnight. I've come such a long way from that 18-year-old girl. Like, I don't even know her. I'm like, who is that? It just happened super gradually for me. But I really started noticing what wasn't serving me. Like, not only noticing what wasn't serving me, but altering those practices that didn't benefit me. I think once I started going to school full-time and working a full-time job, and then having a part-time job as well as that. So like, I was literally going to school full-time, working full-time, had a part-time job on the weekends. I had no time for anything. I didn't have time to be hungover. I didn't have time to feel like shit. I was like, I have to get shit done, actually. This just isn't serving me. So I made small and consistent changes throughout these years. But I think like trying to work on myself, just like progressing as a person and like trying to get out of food and bev, you know, I was like, I need to make these changes. This is not serving me. So just doing those small and consistent things throughout the years, I started hanging out with people who were better off for my mental health instead of hanging out with friends who were only interested in partying or hanging out in that capacity. I started hanging around people who were just better influences, and that made such a difference. I moved away from a city that made it nearly impossible to be my healthiest self, which also made a difference. I found a man who loved and accepted me for me, which also helped with my esteem and made me fully realize I didn't need to drink to be comfortable with myself or others. It's really weird because I had high self-esteem for like some parts of me, and like other parts of me just like total, just bottom level, like no esteem at all. So it's not like I needed a man's validation to like feel better about myself, but it did help me realize that there were just like, it wasn't just some parts of me that were desirable, like all of me, like the low parts and the high parts, it all makes me, and he accepted me for me. And it just like, oh wow, like that clicks, like all of me is great. And I don't need that crutch of drinking anymore. It also probably helped that my man is a stoner. So eventually I just started replacing alcohol with marijuana, which, you know, is 0 calories and 0 sugars compared to all the excess stuff that I was putting in my body before making that switch. It took so many years to get to the point, but with perseverance, you know, here I am at my healthiest mental place yet. And I'm definitely not perfect. Nobody is. I have indulgent meals, which I know some people like to call quote unquote cheat meals, but in my opinion, it's not really cheating, but more like enjoying life and enjoying moderation with pizza or going out to eat occasionally, which, you know, going out to eat with people also is helping your social well-being too. It's having that balance. And I don't work out to offset eating poorly. I don't punish myself for eating out or having these special decadent meals or desserts. I think making this mind shift also really benefited me because I stopped being so fixated on that aspect of it, and I stopped weighing myself every day just because it was torturing my mind with a meaningless number, which I only like came to find out was meaningless, you know, because at one point I just put so much emphasis on what that number was. And I'm definitely not knocking anyone who opts to have a scale or weigh themselves regularly, but for me, it was just more damaging to my mental health than good. So I made that change as well.
Yeah, I'm a scale user, so
yeah,
I'm a little
whatever
different.
Works.
But I definitely do use the scale, at least weekly. But I did not use the scale before I started being much more active. Like, it was a very much danger zone before I got more engaged with myself. But I think once I started getting engaged, I just knew I was doing the work. And the scale didn't really hurt my mental state the same way, because rather than it being a number that defined me, it was a number showing me what the work was doing.
Yeah, your progress.
Yeah, and I somehow found a mental state that could actually recognize that, which is so big girl for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a long time since the scale also surprised me with its number, because when it's a little bit heavier, I know which meal did that.
Right.
I knew which choice put that there. So I think if I'm doing the physical work, then it doesn't affect my mental game the same way.
Right. Yeah. And it's great anyone who wants to use it. It's great to measure it. For me, I'm just like, if I would see the numbers go up, it would just drive me crazy. And then I'm obsessive and on it several times a day, every day. Wasn't good for me personally. I'm just like, okay, I just need to look at myself, and if I feel good, then I'm good. Like, I just want to look in the mirror and like, okay, my clothes be fitting nice. Like, I look good, and that's great. Like, I just personally don't need it. But as far as my physical health goes, I've always been a super active person. I grew up playing all kinds of sports. My parents were very serious about their health and were even in some body competitions when I was very young. And I think having that influence and example impacted my perspective on staying active and what that looks like. For me, working out has always been the easy part of maintaining my health. I think growing up playing sports, taking classes that were specifically weightlifting in high school, having a mother who has a personal trainer, having a home gym, etc., etc. I just always felt incredibly comfortable in active situations.
But that's so crazy to think about because, like I said earlier, I am very much a group setting, not a solo gal. And when I was a kid, I did so many team sports. Being active, not the problem. Working out in groups, dance, sports, whatever it was, I was chilling. But I do not know what to do with gym equipment when by myself. When left unattended, there is no working out for Laura.
But I think that is such a common thing. I mean, even Josh, my husband, when he met me, he was like, oh, I definitely feel so uncomfortable in the gym. I do not want to go with you. I don't know what to do. I'll just look around like I don't know what to do. So you need to guide me.
Yeah, that base from childhood really just changed it up.
Yeah, truly, because I'm like, oh, I know exactly what exercises to do to target these specific groups on these specific days and had my whole plan. And it was just like, I go in there, I know exactly what I'm going to do with very minimal thinking beforehand of like, okay, which exercises am I going to do today? But yeah, I think that's so uncommon. I don't think most people inherently know what to do when they enter the gym. But even though I always was active and have maintained that into adulthood, like I said, I have been super obsessive about size and disordered about food, which in retrospect, although it should have been like in the moment that I should have known like this isn't normal, but in retrospect, especially, I'm just like, okay, that just wasn't healthy. These days, I believe in health at every size, HAES, which if y'all are interested in an episode on that, let me know and we can dive a little deeper. But the core of HAES recognizes that size is not necessarily indicative of health. And I'm just going to say it again. The size of one's body does not necessarily dictate their healthiness. There are thin bodies that are not healthy and there are bigger bodies that are healthy. But from the outside, you just really can't tell, and it's not fair that our society places so much emphasis on the outer shell. I think it's more important to focus on whether you feel good in your body and think about whether or not it can move about easily and do the things that you want to do. I think that's a good first step to determine where you stand in the way of physical health. Can you move about the way you want to? I don't believe that one exercise regimen is right for all because we are all just so different. Different things work for different people, and that's great. Like, the beautiful thing about being a human is we all are unique and beautiful in our own way. Yoga might work for one person and definitely not for another. Some people like rock climbing, playing basketball, running, Zumba, what the fuck ever. Do what you like and stick to it. If you like a variety, cool. I definitely do. I love to walk, strength train, hike, bike, do yoga, mix up my workout based on what I feel like doing and what's convenient for me to do for that day. I switch up things, but I generally work out around the same time every day because for me, a schedule is just kind of what I need. And I think a lot of people are the same way. Like, we're creatures of habit. So I think getting started is the hardest part for most people, but one just needs to make the commitment to themselves and stick with it. Maybe working out isn't the easiest for you right now. Maybe you have limitations, starting with what you can do. Maybe just starting slowly, adapt and grow your routine how you see fit. Could just start with stretching, and mobility is key for getting the most out of your workouts anyway. You won't really see the benefit of strength training certain parts of your body if you don't have that full mobility of your body parts. Mobility, I think, is often overlooked, but I really can't stress enough how important it is for your body to move to its fullest potential. And stretching is the way to get that full mobility.
Start with the basics.
Yeah. I'm starting this podcast to share my personal insight with as many people as this will reach. I've been told over the years from family, coworkers, and beautiful friends like Laura, as she mentioned earlier, it feels so good to just know that I've helped people and that I've inspired people. And I've really just heard it like throughout my whole life, like people just coming to me with questions or whatever. And it's just like, okay, if I can help people close to me live healthier lives, why can't I help on a larger scale? So I'm really just doing this for that reason, to help as many people as I can. Whoever may be listening, whoever may need to hear some of these sentiments, whoever needs a little boost of inspiration, motivation, encouragement, I think I have important information to share, and I really hope that it reaches people and help someone out there. If I can make positive changes over the years with all my self-doubt and destructive habits, you can too. Nobody is perfect. I certainly am not. I still have some silly tipsy nights with friends and family. I like to have a good time. Who doesn't? But the important thing is that I'm trying. My actions in general are more aligned with well-being than not. I'm trying to be the healthiest me I can be, and I hope this inspires the same feeling with you. Product of the week. Product of the week. Product of the week. Product of the week. Each week, I'll share with you a product that I personally use that adds to my well-being. I'm sure there will be products that Laura shares as well. We will not bullshit you and promote a product that we don't specifically utilize. Just so all of you lovely listeners out there know, I really believe in being authentic and just being myself with everyone, and you'll find that out through all the episodes. So this week's product of the week is a new tea that I found that I am obsessed with, and it is not a skinny tea or whatever. I know I see advertisements for that shit all the time, and I'm like, no.
This tea will not burn fake fat.
No, it will not. But it is absolutely delicious. It's called Harney & Sons, and the flavor is called wedding tea. It's a white tea, which, as Laura knows, is very off-brand for me.
Who are you?
I'm usually a green tea only kind of gal for my caffeine, but damn, this tea is it. It is lemon vanilla flavored with rosebud, so it's actually very beautiful to look at as well while you're steeping it. And it's just a delightful combination of flavors. I tried it back when I was visiting family, and I told my husband how much I loved it. And a couple weeks later, he surprises me, being a thoughtful ass man, for my birthday with a tin of this tea, which I had already forgot about, even though I was like, must order when I get home. And then like that thought just immediately leaves my mind. And then I wake up on my birthday and Josh just has it there for me, and I've already ordered another 50 sachets worth because I cannot get enough, and I only have like 2 left at home, so I need another 50 sachets.
I just appreciate your sachet use over tea bag.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Double sachets all the way. I need a double dose of that caffeine, but yeah, it's been making waking up that much easier because I just brew it immediately, and it puts me in a happy place first thing in the morning, which, you know, I don't know if you're a morning person or not. I guess I'm semi a morning person. Like, I'm fine to wake up early, but that just like takes it into the next level of like, yes, I'm ready to attack this day. Yes, this smells fantastic. Let me get to work. So yeah, I'll share a link in case anyone is interested in trying it out for themselves. I just wanted to mention too, if you have any questions, topics you'd like for us to cover, or just want to say hello, feel free to email us at wellnessbudspodcast@gmail.com. Until next week, y'all, have a great week.